this video, I'm going to show you a little bit about the directions and talk about fill types. So I've made just a basic square, and of course it's a complex fill in the program. And I'm going to go ahead and right click on it to select it. And what you can see immediately is this wand with, the little green ball on the end of it. And of course here's our in and out points, which the program is automatically handling. And if I want to change the fill direction of this, I'm going to move my mouse, as you can see as I'm moving it, over that green ball, and it turns into a four-way arrow. So I'm going to go ahead and just change the direction. And to make that change take effect, I have to regenerate or generate the design. So I'm going to come over to the G on your Create toolbar and just click on that. And that's going to go ahead and change your fill direction. Let me zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, there's the fill direction we changed to. If I move this wand, nothing happens until I move my mouse over to the G and regenerate those stitches. And then you can see that change to your fill type. Now, when I create something automatically in the program, or when I create something very basic such as this square, the default is Auto Judge. And what Auto Judge is a fill type, and it changes as I change the size of an area. But it's a quick way to get an automatic design done or to get a piece of something done. And when you're in Auto Judge, when the area is large like this, it's a complex fill. When I go to my settings in the properties box, you can see it says Auto Judge. If it were a satin fill, I could click on the satin tab. If it were complex, I could click on the complex tab. But you see that both tabs are here. In the classes that I teach, I always tell everyone, change your fill type from Auto Judge to what you want this fill to be. For example, in this case, a complex fill. Once I change that fill type, you can see that the satin tab disappears and only the complex tab is available for me to change the settings. If I click on the complex tab, I have access to all of the settings in the program. Here's my maximum stitch length and my minimum, my density, and my fill direction. So besides using the little wand that's available on the immediate area, I can also change the direction here. I'm going to go ahead and say OK, and you can see that directional change. So those are some of the basics about changing the fill types for a complex area. Now let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and select the rectangle, and I'm going to create a very narrow column. You can see there's, the stitch type Auto Judge. Here's my, column, and I'm going to change the color so you can see that a little bit better. And it was created in a satin column because it's long and narrow. If I right click on it, select it, and you can see this little wand in the fill types. I'm going to change this up and down and generate. You can see there's no change that's taking effect. Let me zoom in around that, and I'll do that again. If I change this to this direction and regenerate, nothing is going to take effect because Auto Judge is in control of this fill type, and it says it's narrow enough, it's satin. And that's how that's going to stay. I could change this till the cows came home and nothing is going to happen here because Auto Judge has determined that it is a satin area. If I want to change that, I have two options. I can go back up to my properties and I can tell it to be, complex or satin. Or I can come down to the quick bar and I can say I really want it to be a complex fill. You can see that changes immediately. I'm going to undo this and leave this at a satin. If you want to change the direction of the stitching in a satin or column fill and you are on Auto Judge, you can still do that, but I highly advise you to come down here and say, let's make this a satin. That's what that area is, and let's go ahead and do it that way. And then use your editing tools to change the directions. You can see there's the little nodes here. They're kind of hard to see, but I have access to, add a stitch direction guideline in the editing tools. And I can change the way this is going to stitch by using these editing tools. So that's a little bit about how to handle direction in the Generations program. If it's a complex fill, no matter what. Even if it's on auto judge, you can change that direction. If it's a small area and the program has determined through auto judge that it should be a satin, then you can't change those fill directions unless you use the satin editing. We're going to cover a little bit more about handling how to change directions in the generations program, and this time it's for a design that's been automatically generated in the program. This is our orange. You guys all have the orange image because it comes standard with the generations practice images in the program. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the section that I want to edit. For the most part, this design looks pretty good, and I would, unless I were resizing, leave these areas as they are, even though they're on auto judge, except for this area right here. And I'm going to go ahead and change the color just so you can kind of see what's going on. You can see here, let me zoom in, this is satin, this part's satin, and this part is complex fill because it's really too wide to be an effective satin. We also have our little generations wand right here. And if I change the direction, watch this area right in here. If I change the direction so that it's, basically at a whole new angle, watch this section and watch this section when I generate. The area that's complex fill in auto judge automatically changes the direction, but the area, or areas I should say, that are satin as determined by the auto judge program do not change their fill direction. The only way to control this would be to change the fill type, and then you have control over the program. So instead of leaving it at auto judge, for this area I would probably change this to a satin stitch area and then give it a fill type because we know this is going to be too wide. So if I come down to my quick bar and I say satin, I instantly get satin. You can see everything's changed and it's handled these directions pretty good, but this is still kind of wide. So maybe I should use my object properties and come in this way and say, okay, I want it to be satin, but give it a little standard fill. Now I'm still not going to be able to change the directions. You can see there's no direction wand here, but I've been able to control this and this area at the same time by assigning a fill type. Now if I change that to complex, of course I would be able to change the fill directions, and any of these areas that are complex fills I can access the wand. It's going to be the areas that are assigned as satin stitching, or in this case like a little double run line.